The only goal is relentless pursuit of that better you, to wake up with the intention to surpass and outgrow the individual you were yesterday, to work harder than you've ever had before, to display a level of self-mastery by demonstrating who you are through your conduct. Now, understand, what you put your time and energy is directly what the fuck you are. It reflects back at you, and if you don't reflect, you'll project. So before you complain about problems in your life, before you blame a situation, a circumstance, an individual, you need to blame that individual in the mirror, because you can't control what happens outside of you. But the only thing you can control is your reaction to the way you respond to what is seeking a reaction out of you, and to neglect the responsibility to respond with adequacy and competence, to hold yourself accountable to a high degree and respond accordingly with the highest alignment for yourself, instead of working against your best interest and being a reactive, compulsionary, impulsive individual, to react without thinking like an animal, to operate off of a awareness of instinctual action, to act without proper thought. You have to understand that there's levels to the ability that you can use your mind, and your mind, understand that your mind creates your reality. So when you get into your car and you're about to drive to work, remember that that vehicle was first conceived in someone's mind and then externalized and actualized into reality. So everything you see in front of you that was created by the hands of man was first conceived in the mind. So if you are going through your life without ever actually using it, well, no wonder your life's a big fucking rut and you're a fucking piece of shit and your life sucks. It's because you're not using the only thing you possess and control in your life, which is yourself. Every time you act out of alignment, every time you pick up the drink, the smoke, every time you act out of a high standard of behavior, every time you get upset and then you project that, every time you act as a reactive individual, well, you are mentally inferior by your own conduct. To be a superior conductor is to hold yourself to the superior standard, and the superior standard will reflect back into your reality. The situations that you go out your way to make worse for yourself unconsciously, superior conduct stops that before it even happens. So understand that if you went your life holding yourself to a superior standard by holding yourself accountable to a superior degree of behavior and etiquette, to respond effectively and to think, to broaden your perspective on what's currently unfolding within you, in front of you, to actually use your mind to correspond to higher quality experiences, instead of be dragged around by the reactive state of your mind, which is the lowest form of your mind, which is the animalistic side within you. Because we can be as intelligent as possible, but at the end of the day, we are still fucking primates. So if you can't even control the primate within you, well, then remember that you're rendered an inferior chimpanzee, because chimpanzees can't think with intellect, and to be a human and to not use your intellect is to be rendered an inferior fucking chimpanzee. So before you react, before you blame the world for the problems that you have in your life, remember that the solution to every problem in your life is in your mind, in your skull, within your brain. And to not use your brain to connect neurons to create neurological pathways that lead to specific paths that you can choose, because every choice is a phenomenon. So when you make a choice, that choice is going to come with a consequence, and the Latin derivative of con is with. So every choice you make comes with consequence. So every time you make that negative choice and you bring forth a negative consequence, well, isn't the person to be responsible for that consequence the individual in the mirror? Or are we going to sit here and are we going to lie to ourselves that it's everything but us that is creating our problems? It's everything. It's you, not everything else. the problems that you have in your life is a direct reflection of the level of your personal development. So if you are developed at a high level, well, the problems in your life, the low level problems that the average human deals with, you won't be suffering from those problems. You'll actually be dealing with bigger problems to solve. But when you reach a certain level of personal development, this is where life actually, you start to actually be alive. Solving problems is the action of life. So many people go through life neglecting responsibility that they actually hate life. Life is to be active, to move towards solutions, to build and innovate and move towards constructing something, to release tension and negative energy from specific endeavors. So when you have a specific problem, which is really just a whole bunch of negative tension in one thing, to release that, in the process of releasing that, to experience unraveling something that has been tangled, which is causing active tension. To do that is to be alive, to actively work towards a better experience for you and the people around you, to actively be the best for yourself, to always correlate and correspond yourself to the highest outcome for yourself. And this is why you need to become the person you always needed, because everyone wants to depend on someone else for their life. And when someone, when you call someone and they don't pick up the phone, now you're angry at the individual for not being responsible for your life. Why didn't you become the individual to pick up that phone for yourself? Why couldn't you go out your way to solve that problem for yourself? It's because the truth is, you don't want to solve that problem for yourself. You want a quick, instant gratification. And this is where your personal development is nullified. This is where you become the void as you avoid all the problems in your life. This is where you become dependent on everything but yourself for your life. The whole goal is to be a self-sustaining organism, to sustain yourself by yourself and to depend on nothing but yourself all the time. And that doesn't go to say that, you can't, ask someone for a favor or go out your way to get help. But we have people that are in a position where if they don't have that specific individual or that specific thing like addiction, they can't function as a functional organism. And this is where dependency becomes a very fucking big problem, because if you can't operate as an organism at a optimal degree for yourself because you are lacking something externally, you are actively in a state of heterostasis. And that means that you have to depend on externalities for your internality, and therefore you are insecure internally, and that itself is the biggest problem that humanity itself faces. So to be secure in yourself is to have yourself secured. If you're insecure, it's because you haven't secured yourself. And so the goal of your life, the goal of personal development, is to free yourself from any external dependency, because to understand that dependency is just the trading of your power to move in a direction for yourself, to give that to someone else and then make them make the choice for you, to put your power in the hands of someone else so they can get done what you need to get done for yourself. And so, of course, asking someone for a favor is not bad at all. You have to understand that there's certain things you need someone else to help you with. Like if you have to go to court, well, then you need a lawyer. You're not going to go to court and show up by yourself. I mean, we have a rational mind for a reason. And if you can't adequately use your rational mind to rationalize what the fuck I just said, and what I mean is that if your life is in the hands of an individual other than you, well, that's scary, because what happens when those hands disappear? What happens to your life? And that's what you're afraid to face. And so you have to walk into that, and you have to deal with whatever is going to relinquish you from being dependent and having chains tied to your feet and ankles to need something other than yourself. And this is why I stress about the addiction. You always hear me say that if the monkey's sober and fit and you're not sober and fit, you're inferior to a fucking monkey. And I mean that, because if we take away the vape, if we take away the weed, and we take away that bottle, that individual that is in the mirror who's addicted to those substances is going to turn into a wild fucking animal and is going to be so self-absorbed that they will go out their way and take that anger out on other people, when in actuality they should transform that anger into power and relinquish themselves from that addiction. You are a mental slave to addiction. And so we can lie to ourselves and we could pretend it's a good time, and we can act like you aren't passively killing yourself through the alcohol. You're literally poisoning yourself. We can pretend like you're not trying to escape your reality with the weed. You sit there and smoke away your pain, and then you nullify that pain and pretend it's not there when it's obviously there, and now it's manifesting out of you in different forms that you're unaware of. So when you get mad at the individual in the grocery store because something in your life isn't right, you project that internalized anger into the external world. Remember that every root suffering, every seed planted in your mind, in your soul, if you don't uproot that negative seed, it's going to grow and you're going to push that out on other people. So instead of pushing that out on other people, you should inspect and introspect and literally respect yourself by holding your integrity, by not breaking your word. No one wants to be operating from this erroneous ultima called addiction. That is something that you've came across due to, being around low quality individuals. This is why we need to be the highest quality all the time. First, it starts with the oldest brother being addicted, and now the whole fucking family is addicted. First, it starts with the mom smoking the cigarette, then the father smoking the cigarette, and now the son smoking cigarettes, and they all pretend like they're not passively killing themselves, and they don't comprehend the actual fact that they are unconsciously, they have a will to kill themselves, but since it's not as intense, it's manifesting out of them as addiction. And so you have to understand that in life, every action has a root motivation, and the definition of motivation is a reason, and a reason that triggers off an emotional reaction within your mind unconsciously for you to move towards a direction like addiction is to have a reason to passively kill yourself. And so when we look and we take a deep inspection on the truth and the brute raw truth of reality, which is that a lot of people are moving through life wanting to die, this is where we see that there's a bigger problem at hand than, just having a good time. This is where we actually see through the abyss. We see through the surface level, surface dwelling shit. And we actually can see who you really are and what you are through your conduct. So when I say what you put your time and energy is directly a reflection of who you are and what you are, I mean that shit. And when I say I mean that shit, I mean there's levels to life. And, if you're not operating from an in-depth perspective of reality to observe reality at a high level, at a high degree of intellectual capacity, intelligence, observance, to be aware to things that people aren't even aware of, to see what others don't see, to be able to perceive what others can't even comprehend nor conceive. That's when your life, this is where personal development comes in. Links in the description. Join the personal development community. Links in the description. One-on-one mindset coaching. We get you on the macro. We get you on the workout plan. We get rid of the addictions. We pursue your personal development by using the resources in the self-development community to push you forward as fast as possible, to compound that daily, and to be transformed as an individual, to grow and outgrow your past self. I mean, every choice that you make is going to lead to a consequence. So don't blame the consequence. Blame the person who made the choice to create that consequence by putting their attention, energy, and time into the choice that created that consequence. Peace!